society about why I have to complete my course. This actually inspired my advocacy, and after it actually succeeded and my studentship was reactivated, it's glad in my heart, and my passion about advocacy got triggered, and this actually prompted my interest in pursuing a course on disability studies, and in which I'm doing presently here in Brock. And basically, I'm passionate about advocacy, and I'm willing to push through with this. Securing a spinal cord injury in Nigeria is like a death sentence, because I remember when it was declared that I've sustained a spinal cord injury, everyone around that heard about it, their thought was like, oh, that's just the hand. So hearing the sound of spinal cord injury alone is like a death sentence. Like, what's that person living for? So I think that's like the general ableist ideas and stereotypical views of majority of people about spinal cord injury. So which actually craved a form of fear for my family and people around me, and even almost got to me at a point that, oh, you sustain a spinal cord injury, then what are you living for? So I think these are one of those things that posed a big challenge to me then and to people around. But God helping me, I was able to push through and coming this far. And we tried to work around with what we could, worked with to make life better. But despite that, we don't really have access to some of these things, and even the long-term health care and the opportunity to mingle in the society, like participating in the community after incidents, was not really there. But I have to struggle my way out. Right from when I got to Canada, though, I had some challenges with accessible housing when I came in, and which took the intervention of the student affairs to intervene for me to have access to what I have here presently. So, but not looking at the facilities from the transportation perspective, I've been able to have access to transportation like the paratransit. I've been able to go to school. I've been able to attend some social gathering. I've been able to mingle with people in the community. The equipment that will really make a huge difference for me is my motorized wheelchair, and having that will relieve me of and my husband of manual lifting, and it will engage me to stay longer on my chair rather than lying down on bed to do my activities. And also for the lift, I have the manual lift, but I'm hoping to have, if I can have access to an automatic one, that would be of help. And even if my husband is not around, I could get the support worker that is trained to help me with that. And I think that's the piece for now. That would be of great help. There are a lot of challenges to spinal cord injury, in which people with spinal cord injury face on daily basis, right from what works on our body, from the neuro responses and neuro pains, different responses, and the way our body speaks to things. These are one of those challenges that we are living with, in which we cannot dispute or deny. But I will encourage that even with this, we can still move on with life, regardless of what those pains may be in our body, regardless of what those sensations, regardless of what our body may be telling us and we don't even understand, or we cannot even interpret, because there are a lot of experiences that I have personally that maybe I'll be sweating, or one way my body will be saying something, but I don't know. But I know something is happening in the body due to some, like maybe sweating, triggers, spasms, and all those stuff. But I don't know, but the body is saying something. But I will encourage anyone in this situation or passing through any other situation that may seem so challenging or threatening, that don't ever give up. Like I author, okay, I forgot to mention I'm an author. I author 2 books already, 11 Secrets of Living with Disabilities and Struck Down But Not Destroyed. And from that, my book, basically, I would love to give the word of encouragement from my book, Struck Down But Not Destroyed. Don't ever give up. Just tear up, keep moving. You can be there. It took me like 12 years to get to where I am after I sustained this injury. Like 12 years, I had the push and the pull that it is possible, that I can do it. I can achieve it regardless of being a quadriplegic or a quadriplegic, that I can get there. So don't ever give up. Just stir up the faith, stir up the warrior in you, stir up the champion in you, stir up the strength in you. Speak for yourself when there is need for you to do that. And relate with people, reach out to people, reach out to organizations, but never give up. You will get there someday.
Thank you for watching this episode of Underestimated, presented by Oatley Vigman Personal Injury Lawyers and brought to you by Spinal Cord Injury Ontario. The Ontario government currently provides funding for certain mobility aids, such as wheelchairs, to people with disabilities who live at home. However, many Ontarians need other basic devices for daily living, such as therapeutic support surfaces, floor and ceiling lifts, seat elevating devices, and standing wheelchairs. To learn more about these initiatives led by SCIO to help people access the equipment they need, visit our website at sciontario.org. Thank you to our guests for sharing their experiences and expertise. I'm Tori Bowman, and we'll see you next time.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com. This federal election will reshape Canada's political landscape and our country's approach to domestic and international issues. Get to know the candidates running to be your MP and represent your interests in Ottawa. Hear from your local candidates during Rogers TV's coverage of the local campaign. And on election night, Rogers TV delivers the local results. Rogers TV. Watch, learn, vote. This is Rogers TV.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the York-Durham federal election all candidates debate. My name is Jennifer Anderson. I'm the Executive Director of the Georgina Chamber of Commerce, and we are hosting tonight's event. York-Durham. We are now part of a new riding here in Georgina, which not only encompasses Georgina, but also the townships of Brock, Scugog, Uxbridge, part of the town of Whitchurch, Stouffville, and the reserves of the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island. The York-Durham Federal Electoral District encompasses lands with deep Indigenous histories and is situated on lands originally used and occupied by the First Peoples of the Williams Treaties First Nation and other Indigenous peoples. The region is part of the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Métis peoples, and the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation, who are our close neighbor and friend. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we would like to thank them for sharing this land. Before we begin tonight's important conversation, I want to remind all of us, candidates, attendees, and viewers who are watching at home, that democracy is strongest when it's rooted in respect. This debate may bring out sharp differences in opinion, and that's okay. Passion shows that we all care. But let's remember that behind every policy is a person, behind every stance is a story, and behind every voice is a voter that matters. Let's choose to be kind even when we disagree, because at the end of the day, we all want what's best for this country, and we just have different ideas about how to get there. So without further ado, let's get this debate started. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our moderator here tonight. He is the President and CEO of the Central York Chamber of Commerce. He's my colleague, Chris Emanuel.
Thank you, Jen. As mentioned, my name is Chris Emanuel. I'm the President and CEO of the Central York Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to moderate this evening. I'll be introducing our candidates to you in a moment. Thank you to the audience that is here in person and to those joining us on Rogers Television. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes at the beginning for an opening statement. The order in which the candidates will speak was determined prior to the debate by lot, and that order will be reversed for 2 minutes when they each have their closing statements. I will rotate through the candidates, giving each one an opportunity to answer a question first, and then will be followed by answers by the rest of the panel. Answers to the questions will be limited to 1 minute. I am asking candidates to be succinct in their responses so that we can get to as many questions as possible, covering as many topics as possible. You do not have to use your full minute, but it will be available to you. However, as moderator, I've also been given the flexibility to extend an extra 30 seconds at my discretion to have a follow-up of 30 seconds, to explain further if the topic warrants it or I feel the audience might seek some better clarity on your answers. We would follow the exact same order. We do have a timekeeper in the front row to let candidates know how much time they have remaining in their statements and answer. Although you cannot see the time at home, this will allow the candidates to know when they have 30 seconds remaining, 10 seconds remaining, and then when it is concluded. At the end of their time, mics will be muted, the audience will clap hopefully, and we will move on to the next candidate. In an effort to cover topics relevant to York-Durham residents, the Georgina Chamber requested the public submit questions for all candidates on their website prior to the event. Over 70 questions were received. All questions received were vetted to meet our time constraints and to avoid duplication. While we may not get to every question that was submitted, we hope to cover as many topics as possible. Please note the candidates were not given questions in advance. You're able to watch the debate on TV tonight, thanks to Rogers TV Georgina, as well as it will be online after. Starting tomorrow until Election Day, this debate will air multiple times on Channel 10 and will be available on the Georgina Chamber of Commerce website and on Rogers TV YouTube channel. Please visit georginachamber.com and the Chamber's social media pages for dates and times. We're looking forward to a respectful and informative 2 hours of discussion. We have an important decision ahead of us on April 28th. Let us start by welcoming the candidates, and let's give them a round of applause for putting their name forward. Again, speaking order was determined by lots and seating order as well. So we were going to start with our first candidate, Matt Pierce from the Green Party of Canada.
Thank you. I'm Matt Pierce. I'm representing the Green Party for York-Durham. A little bit about myself. I've worked in the private sector my entire life, in the automotive industry. I've been in niche manufacturing, service, and motorsports, and I have a deep understanding through experience of what it takes for small business to function and thrive. I've led several small businesses through periods of exponential growth throughout my career. While I'm absolutely the underdog here, let's not forget that, I'm bringing the positive and innovative ideas myself and the Green Party have to the public. A few of those major ideas that are most relevant to our current situation are no income tax on your first $40,000 earned for everybody. It's a tax break for everyone, but most importantly, it's a huge relief for the 1/3 of Canadians who earn $40,000 a year or less. It will let struggling people the most have a real break from the burden of the CRA. Next is our sovereignty. The Green Party has a plan to build a national civil defense force. This isn't only a way to strengthen Canada's national defense in case of physical threats to our sovereignty. It's a force that can help with natural disasters and emergencies. Having a few thousand extra helping hands around the region could have really helped during our recent ice storm. People out of electricity for days, some of those most vulnerable stuck at home. We could have had people out there helping everybody. Next major point is infrastructure for the future. A national energy grid, federal investment into efficient homes, and federal investment into self-generation of electricity. So many of the rural areas of our riding could isolate themselves from poor infrastructure by having their own wind or solar on their property owned by them. I'm going to speed it up here. Finally, I'm going to touch on trade. As someone personally who's imported tens of millions of dollars in raw materials and finished goods, Canada needs to do much more value add at home. Stop shipping crude oil, raw timber, raw ore, unfinished metals, and unprocessed agricultural products. The wealthiest economies in the world are great at doing value add, and we can do more of that in Canada.
Thank you, Matt. Next, we have the Liberal candidate, Robert Grossi.
Thank you, Chris. Firstly, thank you to the Chamber of... Don't eat into my time. Firstly, thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this debate, especially Jennifer and Michelle, and thank you, Chris, for doing what you're doing. Thank you to Rogers TV for sharing this debate with their viewers. Thank you also to the candidates who are here. Congratulations on putting your name forward. It's never an easy experience. Lastly, thank you to all of you for taking time to come here tonight. This is the most important election of our lifetime. My name is Rob Grossi. I've had the privilege of serving this community, the town of Georgina, for over 24 years, 17 years as their mayor. Why am I here today? Well, first of all, out of respect for you to help you make an informed decision. Thank you for taking the time. Secondly, because many of you, I was sick of the negativity and the misinformation that I was seeing on a daily basis. Democracy is a fragile thing, and we need to do everything to protect it. My politics has always been about reaching across the aisle for the common good of the people we represent. I will tell you right now that I will never give up my sovereignty to another nation. And like you, I am a Canadian, and I am very proud of it. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work with our Prime Minister, Mark Carney. The threats from outside have strengthened my resolve to advance interprovincial trade, expand our markets to foreign countries, and re-examine the opportunities to harness our vast natural resources Canada-wide. As long as the instability continues south of our border, we have to do everything we can collectively to support our Canadian economy. We should never allow a leader of any party in our country to pander to the interests of those who insult us by referring to us as their 51st state. Throughout my career, I have given the people I represent everything I've got. I've had many successes, and yes, some failures, but I have never not given it my all. I humbly ask for your support on April 28th.
Thank you, Rob. From the Conservative Party of Canada, Jacob Mantle.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jen. Thank you to the Chamber for organizing. Thank you to everyone for being here tonight. My name is Jacob Mantle, and I am running to be your Conservative Member of Parliament here in York-Durham. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I'm a husband, a former town councillor in Uxbridge, and for the last many years I've been an international trade attorney helping Canadian businesses navigate the global economy. This is an important election, I agree. After 10 years of economic weakness, Canadians have a choice. A choice on the one hand of electing the Liberals to a fourth term and more of the same. More of the same Liberal policies, more of the same Liberal ministers, MPs, more of the same approaches that have left us poorer, more divided, and importantly, uniquely vulnerable to the Americans. The choice, on the other hand, is a Conservative plan that will put Canada first, a plan to unleash our economic potential, strengthen Canada so that we can approach the Americans from a position of strength, get out from under their thumb, and never be in this position again. It's simply not credible for the Liberals, after 10 years in power, to say that they are now for all the things that they have been against. For Conservatives, for me, change in this election means hope. Change means safe streets, affordable homes, more money in your pocket. Here in Georgina, voting Conservative will mean continuing our tradition of electing strong Conservative representatives. Caroline Mulrooney, Peter Van Loan, who's with us tonight, and Scott Davidson, of course. I'm grateful that all three of these key, strong Conservative representatives are supporting me and have been an integral part of my campaign, sharing their wisdom about this community. My commitment to the voters of York-Durham, and specifically to you in Georgina, is to continue our local tradition of tenacious advocacy on the issues that matter, whether that's a national issue like affordability, or local issues like Lake Simcoe or the Baldwin Aerodrome. I believe in change, I believe in hope for Canada, and I'm asking you to support me in that and vote Conservative on April 28th.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Jacob. From the New Democratic Party of Canada, Justin Graham.
Ani, good evening. My name's Justin Graham, NDP candidate for York-Durham. For over 40 years, I've called Georgina home. I have worked hard to make a lasting impact on the community through my work, leadership, sports, and volunteerism. I'm a property valuation expert in the city of Vaughan. In addition to being an owner-operator of J. Graham's Construction and vice president of OPSU Local 310, I also coach. So I've coached in this community for around 25 years. To pay it forward for my love of sport, I am currently head coach of the Lake Simcoe Soccer U12 girls rep team. Hi girls, they're actually at practice tonight. I couldn't be there, so good luck to Coach Cheryl. Thank you very much. I'm an outdoors enthusiast. I like to hunt, I like to fish. I'm running in this upcoming election to stand up for this community, along with all of York-Durham. We have endured for far too long, struggling as the rich get richer and we, the people, get poorer. The NDP have rallied to push what we feel should be a human right with no sticker price. The NDP has expanded our health care to include dental care and pharmacare. The NDP has rallied behind unions in an effort for service workers to get a fair shake. I have stood on the picket line with LCBO workers to keep good-paying jobs right here in York-Durham. In closing, the NDP and myself will be there to stand up for you and your families, to provide a better healthcare system, a better deal for workers, reconciliation, a fair tax system. We will make life more affordable. We will tackle climate change and create good-paying jobs as a result. Thank you. Miigwech.
Thank you, Justin. I'd now like to ask the People's Party of Canada candidate Patricia Conlon to share her opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patricia Conlon, and I'm running to be your next MP. Now, the truth. We have skyrocketing costs, a housing shortage, collapsing healthcare, and eroding freedoms. For too long, all of the mainstream parties, the Liberal, NDP, and Conservatives, have pushed policies that impoverish families, censor speech, and waste our hard-earned tax dollars. They all backed unconstitutional lockdowns while People's Party stood up for the people. They bankrupted our small businesses and pushed unsafe mandates on our children. They remove parental rights, all of them. They all support net zero policies that are crippling our resource sector. They all voted to send our money overseas instead of protecting our youth, homeless, and elderly. Enough is enough. It's time for new leadership in Ottawa instead of fake slogans and empty promises. I'm a small business owner, a mother, a Christian, a health author, and even a black belt martial artist. My integrity is not for sale. Unlike all of these other parties who stayed silent during the worst government overreach in the history of our country, I spoke up, and for that I was punished. But I will always speak out to protect my community. I will always fight for you and your family. The People's Party is the only party that has stood with the Canadians consistently, the only one with real solutions, lower taxes, rebuilding our small business, pausing the mass unsustainable immigration that's causing our housing and healthcare crisis, igniting our resource sector by withdrawing from the Paris Accord, protecting our sovereignty from foreign influence, preserving our green spaces, and deporting illegals. The People's Party is the party for the people, so we can restore parental rights and meaningful work and protect our communities. Thank you.
Thank you all. And now we get to the fun part, the questions. Not that that wasn't fun, but it's obviously quite intriguing. We're going to start with Robert Grossi with the first question and then rotate through the panel. The first question is with respect to accountability and the current economy. What is your plan to help families in York-Durham cope with the rising cost of groceries, childcare, and education?
Well, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the question. We all know what it's like today to go into the grocery store and the cost of living in this community and throughout this country. And the Liberals have a plan when it comes to housing to double the number of housing units in the country. Currently, about 200,000 housing units are built each year. Our plan is to develop it, but not just your... Okay, I'm mic'd, so...
We'll do our best to turn the microphones up, but continue.
Okay. Our plan is to build creative housing, not the conventional housing that you have today. People can't afford the $1.3 million homes that are going into Keswick. We have to look at different ways of building, creating the economy greater for our community, especially when it comes to housing. And there's a middle income tax cut that we've incorporated into the overall plan. There's lots of different things. It's hard to answer in 1 minute when it comes to creativity, but we have a plan moving forward. And under our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and his financial background, it'll strengthen this country even more.
And before we go on, we're going to do our best to make sure we're balancing the speakers here with the television. Appreciate the audience perseverance through that as we're juggling two audiences here. Jacob, you're next.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for the question. Without doubt, affordability is the #1 issue I hear at the doors from people in Georgina and across the riding. We've seen the Liberal policies. It's doubled debt, doubled housing costs, massive inflation, unaffordability across the region. We don't want more of the same. We need affordability. That's why the Conservatives have proposed cutting the lowest bracket of income tax by 15%, axing the carbon tax for good for everyone forever, not just turning it down for the election. Both of those policies will keep more money in your pocket and make your life more affordable. Thank you.
Justin, you have up to a minute.
Yes, thank you. Unlike the two main parties there, we're looking at building 3 million homes and not billions of dollars of cuts. So we're here for communities, here to invigorate communities, build infrastructure. We have a plan to build more homes and employ more workers, put workers to the task, and more training and more access to the market. Thank you.
Patricia.
The People's Party will lower personal and corporate taxes in line with the U.S. so that we are competitive. We're going to abolish capital gains tax and the inheritance tax so farmers can pass along their farms. We're going to stop all that wasteful spending. It should be in your pocket and keep inflation down. We believe, even though we're upset, we must negotiate a fair trade deal with the U.S. instead of engaging in a tariff war, which will cost jobs and jack up prices. We're going to pause immigration as well because we have allowed far too many people to enter, and it's simply a supply and demand issue. It's affecting everything. Wait times in hospitals and as well as housing. We are not going to be able to build houses fast enough. We're also going to balance the landlord-tenant relationship so we can open up some of those mom-and-pop basement units quickly and support local farmers so we can have low-cost fresh food to keep us healthy.
Matt.
So this is a loaded question here, but it's a very complex question that we can't answer by simple slogans. My first idea here, and the Green Party's first idea, is to just stop corporations from buying family homes. There are so many empty homes that are used as stores of wealth for international investors, for wealthy people. They stick their wealth in a house. The housing market goes up by few wealthy individuals and wealthy corporations. That's the simplest way.
Thank you. The next round of questions, we're going to start with Jacob. There's no doubt about it. Anyone watching the news or, frankly, existing the last number of months know, we are sleeping with the elephant with the United States. What do you feel is the best course of action Canada can take in regards to the tariffs, both internally and externally?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Very important question. Let me just start by saying I'm a proud Canadian. Canada will never be the 51st state. I reject that entirely, and I know everyone here does too. This is obviously something that's close to me. For the last over 8-9 years, I've been practicing as an international trade attorney, helping Canadian businesses and foreign businesses navigate the global trade economy. I think that our first bet needs to be strengthen Canada. We have left ourselves in this position over the last 10 years in weakness, and the Americans are taking advantage of that. What we need to do is strengthen Canada, unleash our natural resources, build pipelines, get our resources to market. None of those things have happened in the last 10 years, and we have left ourselves with one customer. That's unacceptable. It's also unacceptable that we cannot trade between provinces. I'm really glad to hear the provinces talking about that today, and the federal government needs to be a partner in that.
Justin.
So we've already seen the tariffs and the trade wars affecting us, with companies already laying off workers, businesses scaling back operations. The government needs to resist cutting staff and supports for Canadians' vital public services. New Democrats will set aside every single dollar of revenue from the tariffs to support workers who are impacted by them. We'll bring together all levels of government, business, unions, to develop a national strategy aimed at boosting critical domestic manufacturing and value-added processing. Mandates the Canadian government agencies, such as Canada Post, only purchase Canadian-made vehicles and encourage Canadians to buy Canadian by exempting Canadian-made vehicles from the GST.
Patricia.
I love Canada and will always fight to protect our jobs, and I've shown that in the past. I'll always promote buying Canada. But the reality is, going back to Mulroney with the Conservatives and NAFTA, we've been sold out with the free trade deal that deindustrialized our country. I want to bring industry back home with the People's Party, and we will do that. We're going to cut the red tape. We're going to cut corporate taxes, make us competitive, give incentives to small business, abolish capital gain tax, tax, invest in the trades, and demolish the interprovincial trade barriers. Build that pipeline so we can have other customers, and get out of the Paris Accord, which is sucking our money, so we can ignite our resource sector with jobs, good paying jobs for everyone. Only People's Party will do all that, and negotiate a fair trade deal with the U.S. too, because we have to put our ego and pride aside. They're our biggest partner. They've been our strongest ally and our best friend. Thank you.
Matt.
Well, as someone in the automotive industry and someone who's personally imported and exported tens of millions of dollars in finished goods and raw materials over the past 20 years, I can tell you that ripping and shipping, pumping crude oil east to west is not going to solve this problem. Raw resources are not the answer here. It's about value add, it's about building here, and there are 7 billion other people on Earth that Canada can trade with, and we need to do that, and we need to get good at doing it, and fast.
I think as Canadians we need to fight back as to what's happening in the United States under the leadership of Donald Trump. I think Jacob's got a little bit off of the party line. Pierre Poilievre has shown that he's a good friend, and he congratulated Donald Trump on his election. We have to be very careful of having a leader who panders to an elected official south of the border. We have to make sure that we're strong. We have to support the Canadian economy, and we have to do that by retaliating whatever way we can.
Before moving on to the next question, I'm going to exercise my discretion as moderator to actually allow for a follow-up in the same order. I'd like each candidate in 30 seconds to answer why their leader is best positioned to be negotiating against Donald Trump. So we'll start with Jacob.
Thank you very much. I mean, the whole premise of Mark Carney's election is that he can somehow magically negotiate with Donald Trump. That's foolhardy. He's had one conversation with Donald Trump, and what happened after that conversation? We got more tariffs. So for him to tell Canadians that he can do this, that's just not credible. What we have proposed as Canadians, and what Pierre Poilievre has proposed, is to strengthen our economy and insulate it from American attacks. That means targeted tariffs on goods that we can make ourselves or that we can get from others. That means building national projects, getting our resources to market.
Justin.
My party's leader, NDP Jagmeet Singh, has battled against the current government to get exactly what they've wanted, and we've been able to pass legislation like healthcare, pharmacare, expansions of the healthcare system. I think he is in superior opposition to what Donald Trump is doing, and he wants to fight for Canadians just like I want to today, right? So thank you.
Patricia.
Donald Trump has said many times there's nothing he dislikes more than a fake conservative, and that's why he called out Poilievre. That's exactly what he is. The policies are liberal light. Neither Carney nor Poilievre can deal with Trump, but certainly Maxime Bernier can. He's a lawyer, banking experience, he's a hardcore negotiator, and he's a man of conviction who will be upfront and direct and get the best deal possible for Canada. For that, I am certain.
Well, Elizabeth May and JP, our two co-leaders, are not going to be Prime Minister. We know this. But Elizabeth May has decades of experience, and JP has spent his whole life advocating in war zones, in actual war zones. He's not afraid of anybody, and he's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in, even if it puts him in harm's way.
You know, in a short 2 months, Mark Carney fought back against the negativity that we all heard about in this country for the last 18 months. And he went to Europe and he dealt with some treasury bills, and then we never heard of Donald Trump for the next couple of weeks. He has the style and the leadership that we need in this country to deal with the economy and to move forward.
Thank you. This question will start with Justin from the New Democratic Party. Housing prices in York-Durham have pushed many families and young people out of the market. What's your plan to make home ownership and rent more affordable in this region specifically?
So we discuss putting in rent controls, making sure that people are able to afford homes. We want to build more homes. I'm a property valuation analyst. I've seen the market boom. I've seen the values go through the roof, and I see it from foreign investment, people taking advantage of all the red tape that's set up here that everyone complains about, that keeps our market secure and steady. So I think with the extra building and more properties for people to live in, not building huge homes, but building affordable homes for people to live in, we can have a much better future.
The People's Party will pause immigration to help with supply issues and affordability. Immigration drives 70% of housing demand, according to CMHC data. A pause will stabilize prices and help with a lot of issues. We're going to work with small landlords to open up some of those units. I've had discussions already with both sides, and I think we can come up with a fair deal to open those mom and pop small spaces. The People's Party takes a strong stand against forced high-density housing that both the Liberals and Conservatives are doing. We want to protect communities' charm and green spaces, and we oppose that. We want to keep bank rates stable, inflation down, so mortgage prices are down. We can do that by eliminating wasteful spending. We also want to limit foreign speculators as well, and all of our policies are putting Canadians first. Everyone deserves to buy a home, and I'm going to make that a big focus for our youth.
This is a complicated question where the world is seeing a housing price increase. It's not only here in Canada. We want to start by building rental housing federally and keep it federally owned with rent controls over a long period of time. This has worked municipally in Vancouver. Initially, it's not extremely cheap, but over the long term, you solve the problem. This is a long-term issue. We've got to stop corporations from buying single-family homes. It's great if they buy apartment buildings and have affordable places for people to live, but to buy single-family homes, using it as a store of wealth, is not appropriate. And we're going to build a national reserve of strategic resources for house building to keep those critical things like lumber, shingles, cement. We can control the price over a long period of time so there's no shocks to the market in building.
You know, governments don't really build housing. What they do is they put partnerships together. Working with a local municipality and knowing what you need when it comes to development charges and things that you need to fund facilities within your community. A new housing plan needs to be a true cooperative between all levels of government and the builders themselves, and you got to get creative. Container housing, small housing, cooperative housing, all of those things worked in the past, including wartime housing. We've got to look at different creative ways of giving people a roof over their heads.
Thank you for the question. Again, very top of mind for people in Georgina and across the country. I'm 36. I don't own a home. I probably won't be able to own a home unless my parents help me. And that is a common refrain I hear from people. I don't want to have to live in a container home. I want choice. Whether that's an apartment, a townhome, or starter home, we should have choice in this country. And what Canada's Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre is proposed is to incentivize municipalities to build more housing. I agree, we don't build housing. The federal government doesn't build housing. But it can incentivize municipalities to get building, cut red tape, and give relief for development charges. That's why we have proposed, for example, cutting the GST on the price of a new home up to $1.3 million. Under the Liberal government of the last 10 years, home prices have doubled. That didn't happen by accident. That happened under the watch of the Liberal government. Thank you.
Our next question focuses on the local business. Patricia, to you, what is your plan to support local York-Durham businesses and manufacturers?
Well, to start, I will never, ever let our small businesses be locked down again, ever. That was wrong. My business was shut down, and I will never let that happen. I will also encourage development of entrepreneurs. I've coached and done leadership training. I'm a leadership coach. I can help give small businesses the tools to thrive, whether it's marketing or sales, everything. We need to lower their taxes as well. That's a huge thing. Make them competitive. I'm open to grants, every single thing that's needed, profit sharing for the workers. We want to rebuild our middle class that's been destroyed, and it starts with small business.
As someone who is in small business, this is an issue near and dear to my heart, especially in manufacturing. I was in manufacturing for the majority of my career, and I can tell you what small manufacturers, specifically companies under, say, 10 people, the majority of manufacturing, what they need is help making their business more efficient. They need help buying equipment, they need help buying CRM software, they need help getting workers. And all of those things can be done with federal programs to help with no tax on equipment. We need good mentorship programs for journeymen and apprentices so people can actually work in these small businesses. It's extremely difficult to find good workers these days, and that's how we can help them the best.
The Liberal government in the past has already lowered the middle income tax rate, and there's an intent to lower it again. The interesting thing is going to be the effect of tariffs. We all know that tariffs are going to have a huge effect on people, and we have to fund and make sure we use those retaliatory tariffs to fund those workers so they can stay in those jobs. It's going to be a huge process going forward, and we're going to have to make sure that we can protect our workers in all of our communities and do our best to deal with foreign trade and open up new markets. It's great to see the announcement today by the provincial government in taking down the trade barriers between provinces. We have to look at more ideas like that across this country.
Jacob.
Thanks, Chris. Georgina and Sutton here especially are blessed with some great small businesses. I had coffee today with Elaine at Black River Coffee. And I think the very first thing is to have a representative who knows who your small businesses are, knows what their needs are and what their struggles are. She told me that when she was struggling, one of the few people that would come by and check in on her was Scott Davidson, to see how he could support and help her. I met with Eric at Brower, a much bigger company, innovative cross-border manufacturing. We've got everything from small businesses to cross-border manufacturing here in Georgina. We're blessed with that. We need to support those businesses to reinvest in their businesses so they can hire workers and pay a living wage to people. That's why we've proposed, for example, reducing the capital gains inclusion rate from 66, as the Liberals wanted to have it, to 50, so that if you're passing on your business to the next generation or you're selling your business and investing, you won't get hurt. Secondly, we've proposed the TFSA top-up so that people can invest in Canadian businesses and put that money to work here in Canada.
Justin.
So I think we need to invest in public services like healthcare, education, and transit. Put place emergency income supports like was done during the COVID-19 pandemic. Take additional action to protect Canadians from price gouging. Expand and deepen trade relations with countries other than the United States, and work with provinces to eliminate interprovincial trade barriers like we have. So mainly, all these things feed the small businesses, and if we have all these working together and at the top of the rate that we can get them to work, then that'll help out small businesses in turn. Thank you.
We're going to move on to a different topic. Matt, this is for you, and then we'll rotate again through. We're not too far right now from Lake Simcoe. It's just a jewel of the riding here. What specific federal actions would you take to protect Lake Simcoe and its watershed from development pressures and pollution?
Well, I would advocate for a Department of Fisheries and Oceans office here in the riding, and having that office work with universities to do research and development in the lake, on the lake, because if we don't know what the problems are with the lake, we can't fix them. And I mean, personally, if you use the lake, you know what the problems are, but to get that up to the chain, into the federal government level, to put real national protections on the lake, it starts with having the research, having the data to change course. And I think the Department of Fisheries and Oceans having a vessel, research vessel, or the Coast Guard having that here, working with local universities and colleges, could get that done.
Thanks, Chris. I think we have to reinstate the Lake Simcoe Protection Act. The Lake Simcoe Protection Act in the past was great for this lake. And you know, I would just have to tell you a little bit of something. It was only last year when the region of York canceled the Upper York sewage solution, a 40 million per liter day sewage treatment plant that was going to dump into the Holland River. It took a lot of effort on my part to fight against that facility. I was the only one at regional council at the time that opposed it. And it was a $750 million project that was going to dump 40 million liters of raw sewage, not raw sewage, treated sewage into Lake Simcoe. And I fought it, and it was canceled.
Jacob.
Thank you. The person who fought that sewage plant and was instrumental in having it canceled was Caroline Mulrooney. What I would like to see in the next Conservative government is bringing back the Lake Simcoe Cleanup Fund. That money put boots on the ground in this community, funding local initiatives such as phosphorus reduction, fish species protection. That put money into people's community groups' pockets to do work here, not in government bureaucracies or new offices that weren't doing anything or won't do anything to help the lake. We want it in our community, fixing the things that everyone here knows about because you live here.
That was part of the act.
Justin.
So yeah, I think we can start by not building a highway across the Holland Marsh would be a good start, but I think we have stewards of the land right here in Georgina. We have the First Nations we have to consult with, and we have to look at the lake as a whole and make sure that everyone around the lake is keeping the lake first in mind. We have to stop garbage from going into the lake. We have to stop the salt contaminants in the lake. We just have to do better for our lake. We have to make it more responsible for boaters, more responsible for people that use the lake, people that do construction around the lake. We have to hold people responsible, and yeah, I guess that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Patricia.
As a registered holistic nutritionist, I've written 2 books on health and protecting our environment, and I love our lakes, and I think we could do a lot better. I will be serious about investing in resilient infrastructure for emergency planners, first responders, for any sort of flooding issues. Also, resolving the issue with the contamination and algae blooms. Unlike the other candidates, I've actually presented to council about these issues. I've met with farmers whose land is contaminated by the biosolids that aren't being properly processed, that's leaching into our lake. And I'm a problem solver with a father as an engineer, and I want to get to the root cause, just not the surface. We really do need to invest the funds to clean up those algae blooms, and we can do that. I'm also an advocate of regenerative farming, so we can stop all the toxic chemicals and stop killing our pollinators and protect our environment. Thank you.
One thing that was very clear when we heard from residents and businesses when they supported was how critical Lake Simcoe was. I am going to give everyone an opportunity, 30 seconds, further address how critical Lake Simcoe is to these communities, and again, in the same order. We'll start with Matt.
It's not only for all of our recreation, we can use it as a tourist draw from the GTA, and if it's beautiful and lovely and the beaches are nice and there's fish in the lake and you can go out and catch a fish, people are going to come, and people are going to bring money to the riding. That's it.
You know, I just want to correct something, probably in partnership with the Chippewas of Georgina Island and Chief Donna Big Canoe. That's the reason why the Upper York sewage solution was canceled. I never heard Caroline Mulroney speak at one point about the Upper York sewage system in a public venue.
Thank you. I mean, we live in an age where everything's online. We can fact check that, and Caroline can stand on her own 2 feet on that.
Go ahead.
What I want to also mention is that not only do we have Lake Simcoe in this great riding, we have another important body of water here. It's Lake Scugog. And I know that people in Port Perry who are here tonight also care about the health of Lake Scugog. And I think that as your representative, I'm going to keep both of those in mind. And when we talk about something like the Lake Simcoe Cleanup Fund, that's something I'd like to see expanded to capture both of those areas.
Justin.
Well, the lake is very crucial as we do draw water from it and treat it and give it to our community members, right? So the main point is all bodies of water need to be looked after. They need to be preserved, helping out all aquifers, because drinking water is, you know, it's a very, sorry, lost for words there, but it's very, it's a resource, right? And we're going to run out of that resource if we don't protect it. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I live very close to Lake Scugog, which is absolutely beautiful. I have reached out to both our wonderful First Nations as well, because they are protectors of our land, and it's atrocious that we don't have clean drinking water for them. I've also looked seriously into the contamination even in our drinking water. Those of you who don't know, recently Environmental Protection Agency in the U.S. ruled that fluoride is a toxin and lowers IQ, and we need to get rid of that in our drinking water, please.
Thank you. We're going to change the topic now. There's no doubt about it. Canada is a country that was built on immigration, but over the last number of years, there have been different perspectives on how to better manage our immigration system. So, Rob, we're going to start with you. What changes, if any, would your party make to Canada's immigration system to balance economic needs, humanitarian commitments, and national security?
Thank you, Chris. First of all, is anybody in this room an immigrant? You know, I know a lot of people who made this country what it is today because of immigration. We have to foster our great relationship with people coming into this country. There are an awful lot of jobs that need to be filled by people that are trained and well-educated in other countries. We have to bring them into this country and help them support our economy. We are the leading economy of the G7, and the only way we continue to do that is with immigration and to help people make this country a better place. We have a responsibility to ensure that those who immigrate have the social services that they need as well. So we need to be able to provide all of those services, not only for the people that don't have them here, but for all those immigrants that come here.
Jacob.
Thanks, Chris. I agree with Rob's vision of immigration. Unfortunately, that's just not what we've had for the last years. We need to get back to the basics of immigration, which is bringing people to Canada who share our values, liberty, family, economy, and that are contributing to our economy. Yeah. Thank you. We need to take back control of our immigration system, especially when it comes to temporary foreign workers and temporary students. It's a privilege to come to Canada on a temporary student visa, and we want educated people to come to Canada, but we don't want it to be abused. So we need to put a halt to that to protect the system that we love and protect the country that we love. Thank you.
Justin.
So I'm going to quote a colleague, Jenny Kwan in Vancouver East. Canada is supposed to be a country that welcomes immigrants. But right now, there are millions of people waiting to have their immigration applications to be processed. There are massive blockings in every immigration stream across the country, and a delay in processing has served consequences for these families. The delays are keeping families apart, keeping people up at night with stress, and stopping families from moving forward in their lives. A mother who has been separated from her daughter and her husband for 2 years pleaded with me to help and reunite her with her loved ones. The lengthy separation is an affront of the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. The federal government is solely responsible.
Patricia.
I speak a number of languages, and I've lived in other countries. I've owned and operated for over 20 years a recruitment firm. I've met many people from all over the world, wonderful people. I always tried to learn, hello, how are you? Having said that, we have been reckless with immigration, and it's the result of all of the mainstream parties. Almost 5 million foreigners with visas expiring this year. Many of them don't want to leave. People can't get health care, and they're dying waiting. That's not fair. People's Party will always put Canadians first. Crime is up because we haven't screened them properly. Some of them don't speak English. I've met many of them. This is my third election. We have let outrageous, uncontrollable, unsustainable immigration destroy the fabric of our society, and People's Party will address the root cause of many of our problems by putting a temporary moratorium on immigration till we can sort all this out.
Well, as I've mentioned, I'm in small business, and we're about 25 people strong. 2 of us were natural-born Canadians, 2 out of 25. And without immigration, that business simply would not exist, like almost every business in this country. We need immigration. Simply put, we don't have enough kids. I don't have any kids. I'm part of the problem. I'm sorry. But we need immigration to fill those jobs. Our population is aging. Our natural-born population is aging. And we need those people to come here, work. People who come here want the Canadian dream. They want to buy a house, they want to work, they want to save, they want to retire, and they want their kids to grow up like how people here were born. And I experience that every day on a personal level.
Thank you. Changing topics, I have to say one of the most beautiful part of this riding is the number of farms that dot the landscape of York-Durham. But the reality is farms are struggling. And so, Jacob, to you first. How will your party support farms in York-Durham that are struggling with inflation, climate volatility, supply chain disruptions, and rising costs?
Absolutely, great question. And that's one of the great things about this new riding of York-Durham. It actually pulls together farmers not just from Georgina, but also from Uxbridge, Brock, and Scugog, many of whom are farming similar crops or similar animals. And so one of the things I've tried to do, and I've always done since my time on council, is spend time with farmers to understand what their problems are and their needs are. That's why we held a farmer town hall, Scott Davidson and I, just a few weeks ago in Baldwin to hear their concerns at the Baldwin Town Hall. And what I've heard from them is rising costs, in part because of the carbon tax. Farmers don't have a choice. They need to dry their crops. They use propane or gas. No option. So when the Liberals put a carbon tax on, that drives the price of food up. It drives their costs up. What I've also heard, transportation. They need better transportation across the country. And they need a representative who understands them, a rural representative. And unfortunately, urban Liberal representatives have no idea about our economy, no idea about our farmers. We need to change that by electing a strong Conservative like we had in Scott Davidson or Peter Van Loan.
Justin.
So I think basically, you see, I grew up here my whole life. You see a lot of farms and you see a lot of cash crop. I think there's a lot. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. There's a lot of cash crops, and at the end of the day, we need to support Canadians. As you can see, tariffs are shortening where it is we can get our vegetables from, where we can get our produce from. I know it might be an easier solution to be able to grow without having the support and the farm labor in order to make that happen. But at the end of the day, we need to innovate our farms. We need to have new processes, new technologies, vertical farming, any way we can in order to support our local communities. So that way we're not trucking material across the world. We can feed our communities right here. Thank you.
Patricia.
I'm passionate about food security and nutrition, and that can solve a lot of our problems. The Liberals and Conservatives are developing over our green spaces, and I won't let them. I don't think I saw any of them when I participated in the farmer protest. I will always stand with the farmers. We're the only party that will get rid of their inheritance tax so they can pass on their farms and aren't forced to sell them. We've been an advocate to remove the carbon tax for years and get out of the Paris Accord because net zero is harming them as well. I'm going to work with them wherever possible to improve inputs, work towards regenerative farming, and support farmers markets and local farmers. Farmers are the backbone of our riding, and I love our farmers. I want to see them thriving in York-Durham.
So I'm not a farmer. I've been in the trades my whole life, so I don't understand farming like a lot of the constituents here do. But I'm going to speak on two things I do understand. One is the right to repair. A lot of new farm equipment doesn't have the ability to repair your own machines. You have to call somebody from the factory, and it's extremely expensive. There needs to be federal regulation on the right to repair your own farm equipment when you buy it. It should be yours. You should have the right to fix it. I'm going to touch on infrastructure. It's so expensive to get a truck from here to downtown Toronto. It's insane. The trucking prices in this country are insane, and they get more and more expensive all the time, and we need better infrastructure to make the trucks drive faster, more efficiently, more economically. Lower the price.
Our leader and our Prime Minister has already addressed the farming issue in this country, especially when it comes to loan guarantees. There's currently only a $500,000 loan guarantee. We want to up it to $1 million and expand the terms from 5 to 10 years. We want to increase the help for farmers and ranchers to buy new, more efficient farm equipment with a $30 million top-up to the Agriculture Clean Technology Program. We want to increase support for farmers, ranchers, and producers to access new markets for their foods with an additional $30 million in the agri-marketing program. There's lots of new things, but I know the farmers in this community. I've been to their farms lots of different times. So I don't have to go with Scott Davidson or Peter Van Loan. I know them myself, and I've dealt with them on a daily basis.
Moving on to job creation. Justin, what federal initiatives would you enhance or create to help York-Durham when it comes to job creation and retention?
Sorry, was that to me? Yes. Thank you. So communities across Canada are facing massive infrastructure deficits, including a devastating shortage of housing, the root cause of high home prices and high rents. The government needs to undertake a massive building plan, build more of what we need here, and get shovels in the ground faster, using public land and Canadian products like steel to get it done. Boosting our investment in infrastructure now will help keep people working, stimulate our economy when it most needs a boost, and leave our communities better off with assets for the long term in the new democratic world. Oh, yeah. Something like that.
Patricia.
I'm passionate about our small businesses. I started my first business just out of university after I got my first job. The company went bankrupt. My mom and dad helped me, and it ended up being a thriving business with 10 staff, and I had a building on the main street. So I love businesses, and I know how to build them. People's Party will cut all that red tape and bureaucracy that's just killing our innovation. We're going to fuel trades, but also entrepreneurship with technology. I had a technology recruiting firm. Lower corporate taxes to be on par with the US so we can compete. There's over 20,000 small businesses in Durham. We can help boost hiring, offer incentives, abolish capital gains tax, unlock national investments, and fuel their profitability in every way possible. Never lock them down, and support them in every way to thrive. Thank you.
I think it starts with some infrastructure investment, specifically in this riding. We're lacking infrastructure. We saw that with our electric infrastructure 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. High-speed internet is lacking here. And also, if you don't have a car in this riding, a personal vehicle, you cannot get to a job. So a small business can't hire somebody who doesn't have a job, who doesn't have a car, or a young person who doesn't have a car. There's no way for them to get from point A to point B to point C to actually hire somebody in this region. So we need to work better on having public transportation and a stronger infrastructure here.
So Matt's correct. You know, in municipal government, I learned that if you put partnerships together with other levels of government, you can have great success. Some of the most successful projects in this community anyways was the water and sewer project throughout Willow Beach. That was a third of the money from the federal government, a third of the money from the provincial government, and a third of the money was a user pay system for those that benefited. And you know what? Without partnerships like that, it makes it very difficult for local municipalities to raise the funds to put the necessary infrastructure in place, including something like the Rock, with the soccer fields and the baseball diamonds and the ski hill. A third of that money was provided by the municipality. The other 2/3 was provided by the federal government and the provincial government. To make something a success today, you need to put true partnerships together.
Jacob.
Thank you, Chris. We are going to unleash a wave of job creation across Canada because we're actually going to build things. We're going to approve them, not leave them snarled in bureaucratic red tape for years and years and years. We've been unable to build mines, pipelines, infrastructure projects across Canada. That's why we've proposed an energy and infrastructure corridor across Canada and shovel-ready zones. Because businesses, when they come to Canada and say, I want to invest billions, but I don't want to sit and wait 10 years in an uncertain regulatory process. We're going to do that work up front for them. We're going to approve those permits in those areas so that they can come and put shovels in the ground and get Canadians back to work. Yeah.
Thank you. Patricia, we're going to start with you on this question. York-Durham is a beautiful riding. Many of the communities have many things in common and similarity and share similar things. However, there are also very unique things that separate the communities. Knowing all of that, with the new distribution of this federal riding, how will you ensure that you meet the needs of all your constituents in the areas you now represent, so that you would represent? How would you choose if one area's need is maybe different from another area's?
Well, it's an excellent question, and this is a huge riding. It takes almost an hour for me from Scugog, goes all the way into Richard Stouffville, which is dealing with the Pickering Airport, which the Conservatives want to develop, and I will protect the green space. And I will take time. I'm a very high energy person, I always have been. I'm action oriented, and I have a very unifying way, meeting everybody, talking about issues. It's going to be a learning curve for sure, but I'm very action-oriented, solutions-oriented, and I think I'll use all of the federal money, and I want to make sure your taxes are kept low. We need to fund these things with federal dollars, not your dollars. That's what I'll focus on.
It's a great question. I wish I had about 20 more minutes to think about it, but I think you have the west side of the riding is a lot of commuting up the 404. And the east side of the riding, you have more of a retirement community, you have more small local business, and then everywhere you have agriculture. So to balance those needs is going to be very tricky. I think the best thing you can do is pick up the phone and answer calls, answer emails, answer texts. I'm a serial responder, so if you voted for me and you message me, you're going to get one back. It might be at 5 in the morning, but you're going to get it back.
Chris, thank you very much. Working together is my forte. I've worked with a lot of different groups. So what you do is you draw in the BIAs, you draw in the chambers of commerce, you draw in the historical societies. There are lots of different people that have a passion for their communities. When you speak to them and you ask them what they need, they're the ones that really represent those communities. So that's what you have to do. You have to speak to them, bring them together, ask them what their needs are, and then try to find a way of helping fund what those needs are in some sort of a partnership of some kind, because it's easy to identify something, it's harder to fund it, and you can fund it by bringing partnerships together.
Thanks for the question. I think pretty simply you need to be there. You need to spend time in each of the communities and use all the resources that you have as the representative for the community to learn and always be learning. And I'm not going to be ashamed about learning from people who came before me and represented this community, whether it's Scott Davidson, Laurie Scott, or Jamil Javani, or anyone in our community. There are sources of information, including former mayors. Absolutely. I'm not ashamed to say that I don't know certain things, and I do know others. You know, I will take the time and be there in the community and learn everything I can, putting thousands of kilometers on my car in the process.
So yeah, last time I checked, I signed up to listen to the public and hear what they have to say, right? So I'm not here to tell anyone what they should do or not. I want to get out in the communities, talk to people, see exactly what the unique situations is in each area. Obviously, we've touched on infrastructure a lot tonight. I think infrastructure is, sorry if I can pronounce it properly, infrastructure is key to building great communities. You know, the NDP have the Communities First Fund will support provinces in helping cities lay the foundation for building more homes faster while requiring rent controls, reduce development charges from cities and housing sectors strategies, and end homelessness and encampments. Provinces can access the fund by freezing development charges and working with cities to cut them in half, lowering construction costs, following national rent control rules, bringing forward housing security strategies. But these are just suggestions at this point in time. I would like to listen to each community and exactly what it is they need.
We're going to shift a bit to the media landscape. Right now, there's been a lot of change in the industry in the last number of years. Right now, you cannot share news articles on many platforms because of, in response from the social media companies in response to federal legislation. So I'm kind of asking a double-barreled question, starting with you, Matt. Do you support funding or defunding the CBC or adjusting funding? And do you feel social media organizations such as Meta and X have a direct responsibility to fund Canadian media?
Well, I'll start with the first one. I 100% support the CBC. We need at least, thank you. We need one media outlet in this country that is not owned privately. It's a public funded thing and it's regulated to be neutral. There can be an argument there, plus or minus. But it's very important that we have one public media outlet. You know, I enjoy watching CBC. I'm on CBC Gem every night. As far as the social media question, if they should be contributing to Canadian media companies, I'm not going to speak on that because I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
I don't know about this crowd, but look up, look way up. Some of you might know that. I grew up with the CBC. That was a friendly giant for those that don't know it. The CBC is our national network. I think it's important that we have a network that joins us together. There's more and more people that want to break this country apart, whether it's out west, out east. There's a lot of people that want to do it. If we have one joint media network, you can say what you want. I think they do a pretty good job right now. I think we need to keep that. As far as the other, there's so much going on, Chris, when it comes to other media outlets and Meta and everything else, that it'd be irresponsible for me to try to give you an answer in a short amount of time.
Jacob.
Thanks for the question. I don't believe that government should be in the business of picking winners and losers when it comes to media. Thank you. With respect to social media companies, that's a complicated question, but what I do know is that their concerns are with respect to discrimination and being singled out for certain taxation measures in Canada. And I think that's something we have to take seriously and negotiate and make sure that whatever tax we're imposing, whether it's on media companies or others, is fair for everyone.
I'm going to have to agree with my colleagues down here, Rob and Matt. I think CBC is more than a want, but it's a need. We need this in our political landscape. As it goes for these private social media companies that are trying to enter into our realm, it'd be nice if we had our own, so we didn't have to charge anyone, but I understand it that they pay for their services in the United States, and all we're trying to do is get a fair shake for our media companies as well.
Free speech is a fundamental tenet of any democracy, and I believe Canada's lost it. Although CBC is a cultural icon, they have lost their way and they have become unaccountable. They are guilty of dividing our families and dividing us instead of unifying us. There needs to be accountability if there's funding. I support funding local media so we can have resilient news for everybody. I support funding alternative media. Have funding available, but it has to be contingent on fair and balanced reporting.
Thank you. What we all know is that we're going to watch this on Rogers Television later and share the link because Rogers Community Television is fantastic. But thank you for those answers on those topics. As the federal government plays Rob, well, we're going to go to you on this one first. As the federal government plays a significant role in funding healthcare, but provinces are responsible for delivering it. How would you ensure that federal health transfers are tied to meaningful outcomes, like improved access, reduced wait times, better mental health services, while respecting provincial jurisdiction?
Well, that's a tough question. Thank you, Chris. The provincial government needs to better deal with wait times in hospitals and funding for hospitals, quite frankly. I think some of you don't know, but development charges are collected from municipalities for a lot of various things. Not $1 in development charges goes towards hospitals anywhere in this province, and that's a sin. When people come to this country, when people want to access our healthcare system, we should have a healthcare system that's fed by all of those new homes. If you go to South Keswick right now, not one of those homes has put 1 cent of capital into hospitals within this community, and that's just wrong. So I'm not sure if I could answer that question in totality, but we have to work at how we can work with both our provinces and the federal government to fund, and I think we have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. I went through it last year, and thank God it was there.
Jacob.
Thanks for the question. It's almost like a first-year constitutional law question here that you've given me, so we don't have time to write that out. But I think, for me, first and foremost, that for the federal government needs to be a reliable partner to the provinces in their funding. And I know under the Stephen Harper government, they were a reliable partner, tying funding to inflation so that provinces didn't fall behind in their federal transfers. And I think that's the role of the government, not necessarily to tell the provinces what they should do with those dollars, but to be a reliable funding partner.
Sorry, Chris, can I?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Chris. Sorry, Chris, could I get you to ask the question again, please?
Absolutely. As the federal government plays a significant role in funding healthcare, but provinces are responsible for delivering it, how would you ensure that federal health transfers are tied to meaningful outcomes like improved access, reduced wait times, better mental health services, while respecting provincial jurisdiction?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded question for sure. You know what? I think that the federal government supplies the provincial governments with the, with what they've come up with the proper amount of funds in order to operate our healthcare here. The problem is when you start using it to entice private organizations into a social system, it can get very expensive when you're putting up all the costs. And I think the same thing goes for a lot of private companies. The government should not be in charge of bailing them out. So that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Tricia.
I have a lot to say about healthcare. I lost my husband to the lies of safe and effective with prescription pharmaceuticals. With regards to healthcare, we do believe that reducing immigration, pausing it, will help reduce wait times. I would rehire the nurses and doctors impacted by the mandates with back pay. I would repeal Bill C-47 to protect our natural substances. I would promote an integrated medicine model to optimize health outcomes, including coverage for chiropractic, nutritional, and other forms. I would have drug treatment instead of safe supply sites near our kids' schools. I would investigate Health Canada for conflicts of interest with Big Pharma, and I would advocate for withdrawing the COVID vaccine because of overwhelming evidence of harm to protect my community. Right, a responsibility to serve us.
Thank you. Matt?
I think it starts with fast-tracking internationally trained doctors from places like the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, those people with education systems on par or better than ours. Getting those doctors and nurses here. We've seen a glut of U.S.-trained doctors want to move north since our buddy in the South became president there. And I think the federal government has to do something to really help with home care and community care. Instead of having people drive to hospitals, drive hours to hospitals, drive to downtown Toronto, we need to do more in our communities, and we need to do more at home. And there can be a federal program to help the provinces do that.
Healthcare is a critical issue that many face, and so I'm going to actually exercise my moderator's discretion, ask a follow-up, starting with Rob, and you have up to 30 seconds to answer. But I'd like you to answer with this thought in mind. Do you support increasing, decreasing, or keeping the healthcare transfers at their current levels? One of those three options, and you can explain up to 30 seconds. Rob.
Well, probably increasing, because there are situations that exist in small communities, including things like hospice, that don't get the funding that's necessary to help support those communities. We have no hospice in the town of Georgina, but we desperately need something like that here. And the only way we can do that is by having a true partnership, whether it's through the federal government, the provincial government, the local government. We have to recreate those kinds of things. We have to bring politicians to the table from all stripes to have that discussion.
Jacob.
Thanks for the question. I mean, my position would be that we should maintain funding. But your earlier question asked about outcomes, and I think the federal government can do more in helping achieve those outcomes outside of just funding. For example, we've proposed a Blue Seal program where physicians in other provinces can work across the country, because there's no reason that if a doctor is qualified in Alberta, they shouldn't be able to treat a patient in Ontario and vice versa.
I think it's hard to tell exactly what kind of funding we're getting when you have the current provincial government in Ontario here withholding over $580 some odd million in funding. And with doctors going across provincial borders, at the end of the day, I think it's not just one thing that's unique to our situation. I think it's happening all across Canada with the shortage of doctors and nurses. that might just compile these kind of situations because someone might see something nicer on the other side and want to move to a bigger town where we need these healthcare providers in northern towns, northern areas, and northern communities.
To clarify though, was that an increase, decrease, or maintain?
Like I said,
one word.
I maintain.
Thank
we'll
you.
maintain.
Patricia?
Healthy people build healthy and prosperous communities, so I'm going to make this my priority as your MP, but our healthcare system is completely broken. Associations have too much power and they're interfering with doctor-patient privacy. They're removing licenses of doctors for upholding their Hippocratic oath. I will maintain funding, but I will work to restore real health. My cat was ill last week. $2,500 later, they misdiagnosed him, gave him the wrong pills, and then said, let's put him down. With holistic treatments, in 3 days, he's well.
Thank you. Just again, the timers are right in front of everyone. Want to make sure that we're respecting that. We've done a fantastic job to this point in the evening. Want to make sure we keep on track. Matt.
I think it should be maintained, but the provinces need to know what their funding is going to be in the long term so they can plan for the long term. You can't build a hospital, which takes 10 years, and not know if your funding is going to be there in 10 years. So I think it's maintained, but I think Jacob actually made a good point of tying it to inflation, making sure that the provinces can continue with their funding.
Thank you. Jacob, we'll start with you on this question. And it relates to the Chippewas of Georgina Island and the broader community. But the Chippewas of Georgina Island First Nation is a proponent for a project that will result in a fixed link from the mainland to the island, which consists of 2 permanent causeways connected in the middle by a bridge. Some residents and environmental groups are concerned about the impact of the project on Lake Simcoe and have been lobbying the federal government to conduct a full environmental assessment before approval. Would your government support a full environmental assessment review?
Thanks for the question, and actually had the opportunity to visit the island this past week and speak with the chief and council and hear from them, because I think for me it's starting from listening to them and understanding what their needs are, and clearly transportation and safe and reliable transportation is top of mind. So I think that they need to decide what they want to do first, and then we need to discuss that as a community. But I think we leave it to them to come to us and decide first what's best for them and best for their transportation needs.
Justin?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Jacob on that. I think it's up to them to make the decision on what they need. I've lived here for a long time, like I said, and you always hear about loved ones being lost, and it's a very dangerous lake. From my understanding, there used to be a land crossing there in the past, and if that's something that they want to reinvigorate, then that's up to them and their community, and up for us to support them.
Patricia?
Yes, I've reached out to the Chippewas of Georgina Island as well, and absolutely support job creation, improved transportation, as well as all the other things we need to give them more autonomy, including repealing the Indian Act, which I think they're in favor of. So yeah, I would support them and simplify the process. Sometimes over-regulation can be harmful. We want to maintain environmental standards, but sometimes too much red tape stops all these projects. So I would absolutely work with them to do the right thing. Thank you.
I think it's critical that they have a permanent link there, and I agree with Justin and Jacob that it should be up to them to decide. I think we do need to do an environmental assessment, but if that environmental assessment decides that the causeway is not viable, the federal government should step in, build a bridge, or build something different, but maintain the link.
During my tenure as the mayor of this community, we put a friendship agreement together with the Chippewas of Georgina Island long before it was fashionable to do a land acknowledgement. We have a great relationship with the Chippewas and we respect them. This is really a safety issue as far as they're concerned. They've lost a lot of their representatives over the course of time because they didn't have a fixed link, and there's been problems with that. So I think, you know, I might remember my friend when you're talking about Buzzy Big Canoe, and he used to talk about it all the time. I think it's important that we leave it up to them, respect the Indian Act. If it means that there's an environmental assessment, fine. But I think we need to respect what their wishes are, and if their wishes are to have a fixed link, I'm sure it's going to have to be controlled to some extent, but I would support them in any way we possibly can.
Moving on to the climate crisis, a very simple question. Justin, what are your party's plans on addressing the climate crisis?
So again, I think I'm going to go back to infrastructure, right, and growing and building all our stuff and using all our own resources at home. I think a lot of this global trade increases the amount of global warming. It increases the amount of diesel fuel used to ship these products. Big tanker ships and all that kind of stuff in the ocean, spilling over, all this kind of stuff is really really bad for the environment and bad for our climate change situation. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Yeah.
Patricia.
The People's Party would advocate for resilient infrastructure, for extreme weather, more resources for first responder, and better emergency planning. We would support things like high-speed rail, and also using the money that we would gain from withdrawing from the Paris Accord and unachievable net zero. We would help to actually clean up the air, soil, and water, including Lake Scugog and Simcoe. We would support east to west pipelines to secure ethical Canadian oil and natural gas instead of oil from foreign dictators transported on dangerous tankers, and also advocate for other sources of energy, including nuclear, solar, but not necessarily windmills. We would protect all our green spaces. I think that's really important, and protect our pollinators as well, because that does impact the climate, glyphosate and soil degradation, and promote regenerative farming as much as possible.
Thank you.
It's a complicated issue, but it needs investment. And what the Greens, I mean, we're the Green Party. We start with research and investment in clean technologies and climate adaptation. It doesn't mean stopping, you can't drive your diesel truck. It means building a better future, better alternatives for the future. You're never going to convince everybody to change everything all at once. It needs to be slow. It needs to be investment in the future. We need to have a nationalized power grid. We need to invest in retrofit programs for homes and businesses. You could generate power at home. You can have a heat pump at home. You can do all that. These are small, manageable things that can be done quickly, but with deep research in innovation, we can make big changes slowly.
From what I've heard from the Conservatives, they want you to believe that we have to choose between growing the economy and fighting climate change. Actually, we have to do both. We have to reward people for making greener choices. We have to provide homes with retrofits. We have to look at all different options when it comes to helping people deal with climate change, reducing emissions, driving investment into green industry. We need to build a future-looking economy, the strongest economy in the G7, and only Mark Carney and the Liberal government can do that.
Thanks for the question. Quite simply, I think we need to do things that actually make a difference and matter. And punishing people and farmers in our community with a carbon tax doesn't help us. A plastic straw ban doesn't change the weather. What we should be doing is getting our resources to market. Every cubic meter of liquid natural gas that we can sell to other parts of the world displaces dirtier forms of energy around the globe. Canada could do more for the climate by doing that, providing good jobs for Canadians here, clean, ethical energy to the rest of the world, lowering emissions, and enriching our country in the process. That's a win-win for me.
Yeah.
Patricia, we're going to start with you on this. And there's no doubt if you're reading the newspaper, following the media, etc., crime is a critical issue facing our communities, with car thefts as well, home invasions, etc. We had a letter come from one resident to the Chamber who said, quote, "My family no longer feels safe in our neighborhood. We're seeing an increase in crime. What is your party planning to do to reform the criminal code?"
A lot of these problems come from our reckless and irresponsible screening with our immigration policy. And I've talked to people directly who work in immigration, and the fraud is through the roof. So we just have to get better screening. We have to deport illegal criminals. We have to remove safe supply sites from our schools to protect our children. Empower police officers so they can uphold the law and put people in prison who are committing crimes. We look at bail reform as well, so people aren't let out and need to be accountable for the crimes they commit. We do have a big problem with crime in my own region, just in near Uxbridge. There were massive shootings. This is something that we have to look seriously at, what solved it and what caused it and how we can solve it. Thank you.
Matt.
The crime is a real issue, and I'm in the automotive industry. The car theft thing is a serious problem. I make a lot of money from selling immobilizers to people with high-end vehicles. And to be honest, crime starts right here. Nobody does a crime without using this device. And it starts with investing in RCMP and OPP cybercrime security, because if you can find them here, you can find them anywhere. And they do not do anything without this. That's it.
Well, you know, if you do the crime, then you do the time. And I think the Liberal government has been very clear that we have to, You know, we have to strengthen bail reform. If you've been in the judicial system in the past, you know that we need to strengthen bail reform. We need to give the courts the opportunity to do what needs to be done to make sure that those who are the criminals, who aren't just immigrants, are put in the proper place, put them in jail.
Thanks for the question. This is another one I've heard at the doors a lot, especially here in Georgina. I've attended the YRP's community safety meetings. The statistics are out there. They're everywhere for anyone to read. Violent crime is up in Canada, car thefts are up in Georgina, and we've had shootings in Treasure Hill and other places in Georgina. And I'm not surprised to hear someone saying, I don't feel safe in my street anymore. That's a direct result of ending mandatory minimum sentence under C5 by the Liberal government and weakening bail conditions under C75 by the Liberal government. We will reverse both. We will reinstitute mandatory sentences for violent crimes using the notwithstanding clause if we have to, and we will reform bail so that it's not a revolving door. If you commit a crime, you will stay in jail if it's violent until you get your day in court, because we need to keep our community safe. And finally, we will institute a new intimate partner violence offense, because intimate partner violence has also skyrocketed in the last 10 years, and that's unacceptable.
Justin.
So I think there's many different levels of crime. And I think what the question was based around was people not feeling safe in their homes right now. And I think that's why the NDP, we want to invest in infrastructure and create good paying jobs, support unions, support doctors, support nurses, support healthcare. I think a lot of these come due to boredom, you know, people, or boredom or lack of funds or lack of resources. They're trying to get something that maybe they don't have. And if we have good jobs and we have good support systems, then we'll have good community members and safe homes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm just making notes here. Moving on to the next question. It's around, and sorry, we're starting with Matt here. How will you help fund broadband infrastructure upgrades in small towns and rural communities without increasing the tax burden on municipalities?
That's a tough one, and I think the answer to that is through, as much as I hate to say it, satellite broadband internet is the way to go. There are more alternatives than Starlink. There is a French company launching satellites now. There are other companies launching satellites right now for broadband internet to be accessible all over the place. I know that's a huge issue in this riding. I've talked to many people about that. People going to Uxbridge, to Blue Heron Cafe to just get on the internet. So I think there needs to be a federal program to have access to internet through satellite systems. It doesn't necessarily need to be Starlink, but it could be one of those sort of systems.
I think, like many other issues that we deal with here today, it's all about bringing people to the table. In the town of Georgina, through the region of York, there's been a great partnership in extending broadband services to many of the rural communities within the town of Georgina, and it's been very successful. So I think what you have to do is look at those options that are available, whether it's Starlink or whether it's something else that can bring those kinds of services, especially to the rural communities. So, like I said, you've got to look at what the options are, who the partners are, and who can fund it.
Thanks for the question. It's one that I've dealt with personally. At my house in Uxbridge, I used to have a phone on TELUS. After I looked and they said they provided coverage in my area, and then I got a cell phone plan and I had no cell phone coverage at my house in Uxbridge, and I'm 45 minutes away from the largest city in the country and I can't get cell reception on one of the national carriers. That's simply not acceptable. So I had to switch my coverage to Rogers to get any cell phone service. So I think we need to have more competition in this country, and we need to support some of the innovators out there. I have internet from a small company called FiberSpeed, because he provides internet to small places like Goodwood, Zephyr, Eudora, places that aren't serviced by the big guys. And so I'd like to see more competition and more support for the innovators who are actually bringing service to rural communities.
Yeah, so to kind of piggyback off of what Jacob just said, I wrote it down a little bit just before he said it, but I don't know if you're reading my page, but
Good idea is a good idea.
That's it, yeah. So yeah, again, competitiveness, right? So again, you get certain areas, you could drive to Holland Landing and all of a sudden you dip down a hill and nothing's working. So at the end of the day, we have to stop with the, like when I grew up, when I was taught in public school, I think we were against oligopolies and monopolies. A fair competitive market, maybe some funding to get these people started and these small businesses in order to create these different, new innovative ways of getting us getting us broadband. So.
Tricia.
Canada pays some of the highest rates for their telecom in the world, so I do support, of course, small innovators and competition, always to keep prices down to help with affordability. I know that's one of the things that we do tariff quite high, put tariffs on in Canada, so it could be part of our negotiation, which when we do sit down with our U.S. partners. I think we need to be mindful. In my community in Scugog, I've supported a number of people presented to council with concerns of putting 5G towers on farmland and too close to residential locations, as there are some very concerning health issues that are recorded. And so we have to be mindful and balanced when we're doing anything that emits radiation, and balance the need for competition and good internet and price and all of these other factors for our communities. Thank you.
We're going to have our last question of the evening, then move into closing statements. So Rob, we're starting with you on this one. How will you ensure transparency and regular communication with your constituents if elected?
Once again, transparency and
regular communication with your constituents if elected.
Pardon me?
I'll repeat the question. So how will the candidate ensure transparency and regular communication with their constituents should they be elected?
Thanks, Chris, and thank you for doing the job that you've done here tonight. if there's anything that I've done as an elected official over my 24 years, it's become transparent and to regularly communicate. My daughters used to say, and they'd tug on my pant leg, you know, Dad, can we leave the grocery store now? We've been here for an hour and a half, and you've been talking to everybody here. That was my forte, and it will continue to be my forte. If I go to Ottawa, I will be working for you, the people of this community. And I will continue to do what I've done in the past. My volunteer experience here, I love to contribute myself to this community. I'm not just here because of the election. I live in this community, I'm here every day, and I'm transparent, and I'll continue to do that as your representative in Ottawa.
Jacob.
Thanks for the question. I think I'll do what I have always done, including to my days as a councillor in Uxbridge in our community, which is put in the work. You need to be there in the community, spending time and hearing people, hearing their concerns and getting their feedback and understanding what you need to take back to Ottawa. I think also you need to meet people where they are in the community. And one thing I've learned in my time in politics and just in our community is people congregate in different areas. Some people meet at the arena, some people at the coffee shop, some people on their community Facebook page. And you have to seek out those places and meet people where they are in the community, because that's your job. Your job is to be their representative. Go to them, not forcing them to come to you. So that would be my approach for our community here.
Well, I'm not much of the office type. I like to get out and do my job outside of the office. I like the sun, I like the weather. So I'd like to get out in the communities and speak to every single one of you if I could. And that would be my pleasure. The transparency, you know what, I find it enlightening when you see people, you know, that don't like other people's posts and want to take them down instead of letting them be there and addressing them, or if it's not something not to address, at least leaving it there for other people to understand what other people have commented about or what's going on in your community. You know, communication is a key thing that we are lacking in today's society, even though we do have all these devices in our hands. You know, everyone takes things the wrong way and stuff like that. So speaking person to person, human to human is the way to do it. And the more I can get out and the more I would like to get to see you guys, the better it is for everybody. Thank you.
Patricia.
PPC is the only party here that will allow me as your candidate to represent you with my own conscience and not necessarily vote along party lines, and that's huge. I'm honest, and this is something you can count on me for. I went against a narrative and paid personally because it was wrong for my community, so I'll always stand up for you no matter what. I've run a very busy recruiting firm in my life with many staff. I'm high energy, I'm an athlete, and I will always be there. I will work so hard. I'm results oriented, I'm solutions oriented, and I have a lot of deep knowledge in many topics, so I will be able to present unique solutions that these guys can't present to solve the problems and address the root causes. So I'm really excited about this, and I love this community. I'm going to work hard to make your life better.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a serial responder. I have 5 or 7 email inboxes, all organized, all with 0 unread. Constantly, I always call people back, and I'm happy to meet everybody at any time. As for transparency, in my time in business, I've learned the hard way, trust me, when I was younger, that a hard truth is much better than an easy lie. It's better to tell people a hard truth and just go with it.
Well, thank you, candidates, for participating in the question portion. We're now going to do closing statements in the reverse order that we did opening statements. So it's really easy. It'll go from Patricia to this end of the table. So you have up to 2 minutes, Patricia.
This is a new riding, and it needs new leadership. A vote for me is a vote for real change, not fake slogans or empty promises. Our nation is hurting. Families can't pay their bills. Our streets don't feel safe, and the future hangs in the balance. We can't afford to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm Patricia Conlon. I'm here to fight for you, for every Canadian who wants freedom, financial security, and a country we're proud to call home. The truth is both the Liberals and the Conservatives have failed us, not just in the last 10 years, but for decades. Crippling taxes, rising crime, censorship, a broken healthcare system, and allowing globalist organizations like WF to run our country. Both of them are rife with scandals and corruption. Poilievre offers fake slogans while pushing the opposite, a losing trade war with the U.S. Both of them push mass migration and reckless development on our green spaces. Both of them are not protecting our children. How can you trust them? All of them voted to remove your rights with Bill C-4. PPC is the real deal. I'll work hard to improve your life and protect our communities. I'll restore health with real health care. I'll cut spending, protect communities so you feel safe again by deporting illegal criminals and letting police uphold the law. For young families losing hope, I'll fight for policies that let you afford a home, build a family, and give you a future you can believe in. I'm here to conserve your money, your freedom, and your health with the best platform in Canada by far, People's Party of Canada. On election day, vote for real change. It's an easy vote. I'm the only real Conservative in the room. Patricia Conlon, a true Conservative speaking the truth, who never wavers in fighting for you and your family and will protect Canadian values and our sovereignty. Together we can build a strong country. Thank you.
Justin.
So I think you've heard us talk a lot tonight, so I'm going to try and keep mine short and sweet here. So I just want to remind you guys, when you get to the ballot box, remember to vote for you. A vote for you is the expansion on healthcare, a better deal for workers, for reconciliation, for peace, a fairer tax system that benefits all of us, not just the ultra-wealthy. Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Jacob.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being with us over the past 2 hours. It's time for a new generation of leadership here in York-Durham and in Canada. It's time for a Conservative government that will make work pay again, reduce taxes on working Canadians, keep criminals in jail, and unleash our economic potential so that we can stand on our own 2 feet again as a country. I reject the Liberal plan that will keep our resources in the ground. I reject the idea that we must impoverish ourselves to satisfy a liberal global environmental agenda. I reject that Canadians should pay more while getting less. We must strive to make Canada strong, united, and free so that we can stand on our 2 feet. We will do that by building national projects, getting our resources to market, slashing taxes, and reducing bureaucracy. To those in my generation, I say to you that a Conservative government will work tirelessly to renew the promise of Canada, a job that pays well, an affordable home in a safe neighborhood. I'm 36 years old, and I do not know one person my age who's been able to afford a home on their own. That is not the way things should be. That is not the way things were, and it does not need to be the way things are in the future. For those in my parents' generation who remain undecided in this election, I ask them to vote and consider their children and their grandchildren. I know that we all believe that we should leave a better country for those who come after us than we had. And I know everyone wants to have the same ability and the same promise to start a home, start a business, own a home, and start a family. But the truth is that those dreams, the dream of Canada, is increasingly out of reach for many people. I do believe Canada's best days are ahead of us, but only if we make the right choices now. We need a government, a Conservative government, that will unleash the full potential of this country, stand proudly in defense of our values. If you let me, I will proudly put Georgina, Brock, Uxbridge, Scugog, and Stovall first, always.
Do you really believe that Pierre Poilievre can lead this country with what you've seen? Good for you. I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm capable of going to Ottawa to represent your interests. Please be respectful. My past has shown that I will show up every day, and I will work with all parties to come to a respectable solution. Like I said before, this is the most important election of my lifetime. Supporting our communities is nothing new for me and my family. My commitment as a volunteer is something that I don't take for granted. I believe my leadership, my knowledge, and my experience will serve you well as your representative in Ottawa. I will get a security clearance. I guess you didn't hear about the other guy, and I don't wish to control the press. So please encourage all of your friends and neighbors to vote on April 28th. If you can see fit to vote for me, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And Matt.
I'd like to start to thank everyone for the opportunity to hear me speak tonight. It's important that the small parties are here. Like us and the People's Party, we're only little guys here. We have a very outside chance of being elected. But it's important that you hear our ideas and maybe bring them to somebody who is going to be elected. The reason I ran as a Green because I'm upset with my current representation. And the only way to change that is to be involved. And thank you all for being involved here. And I want everybody here, don't forget, you don't vote for Prime Minister. You're going to vote for one of the 5 people sitting here tonight. So I just wanted to say thank you, vote for me, good night.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. I do want to thank our candidates for their participation, and I will say this, at a time where you see political rhetoric and a lot of just unfortunate political commentary south of the border, that we've got candidates that are willing to be here, respectfully debate the issues with each other, and put their name forward. Let's give them a round of applause. To the Georgina Chamber of Commerce, Jen and her team have done a fantastic job hosting tonight, along with Rogers TV Georgina for their live coverage. Let's give them a big round of applause. I also want to thank the audience here at the link and those that have joined us remotely watching. We hope that these discussions will be helpful when you cast your ballot. It's important to note advanced polls are open all Easter weekend as well. Election day is the 28th. And let me say this, there are veterans that literally gave their lives for your right to vote. Do not let those deaths be in vain. Be sure you show up to vote. For information, you can watch this debate by visiting georginachamber.com/elections and for more information on the election. Thank you and good night.
Canadianed because the story spread like wildfire and the media put so much pressure on it right across the country that the government could no longer ignore it. So there was actually a trial. Canada's first racial discrimination trial happened, and the judge actually sided with the business and establishment owners, saying that they didn't have to serve people of color. And it would take several more tries. But finally, in 1956, racial equality became a civil right in Canada because of this story, and racial discrimination actually became illegal for the first time.
Wow.
So Ruth Lore is amazing because she is a Chinese Canadian woman, and she could have said, this has nothing to do with me, but she stood with them. And Bromley Armstrong was 21 years old and had immigrated to Canada from Jamaica. So he could have also been like, hey, right? But they stood up with him. And Ruth Lore is still alive today. She's the only one of the three. And she's 92 years old. She's a journalist, she's a writer, and still a social justice activist fighting. So these three are amazing Canadian heroes, stories that should be known and told. And I've told it very briefly, so do your research and dig deep and learn about our history, and look what it always comes down to. It always comes down to us all standing together, regardless of what we look like on the outside. If white Canadians hadn't have been just as upset about this story, nothing would have changed, nothing would have been done in that climate of the country of that time. So Canadians, the way we always do. We stick up for each other, and we stand up for each other, right? And it's about knowing. So it's good to have the media put pressure on things and to report on things.
And I just wanted to say what a wonderful example of the good that media
can do.
Exactly.
Absolutely, can do. They put a lot of pressure, and the government was embarrassed because you had been doing this for over a decade. So, you know, Canadians, again, as we do.
I love that.
It's so true, and we're certainly seeing that.
Right?
Today.
That's my point. That's my point. There's a reason I chose this topic. Yes.
One more little
dig. Let's Canadians.
Right?
It really is. Apparently, we've got a couple more pictures that we're going to bring up.
Oh, let's look at them. Yes. So this is a segregated school in Nova Scotia where it was legal to be segregated. It wasn't informal, it was legal, it was law to keep black and white people separate from each other. So this was a school for black children in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Yeah. This is interesting. This is the theater that Viola Desmond,
who's on our $10 bill.
On our $10 bill. This is the theater where she was arrested for sitting in the whites section.
I can't.
How silly are these things now, looking back?
Right?
You know, as a grown-up,
we've got to be so careful that we don't repeat it. This one is in Toronto, and it closed in 1965.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having
so
me.
much. Just
let's not go backwards, Canada.
No, we're
let's
not.
Canadian.
We're going to Canadian.
We're not.
Well, Georgina, that's another Georgina Life, and thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you, all of you, on the next Georgina Life. Bye-bye.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
We invite you to play What's My Line? Welcome, Mrs. Baker. Those folks over there need to guess your extraordinary occupation.
Are you an entertainer, Mrs. Baker?
Yes.
Do people come to watch you
perform?
Yes. Do you travel for work? Yes, I do.
Do you ever wear a special type of costume?
Yes.
Is your job, physical?
Yes, indeed.
Are you a member of a team?
Yes.
Are you a professional baseball player?
Yes, I am.
Created during the Second World War, the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League included 68 Canadians. One of its brightest stars was my mother, Saskatchewan's Mary Bonnie Baker, a pioneer for women in sports.
You're watching Rogers TV.